Okay, so this is a video where it encompasses everything that we've talked about so far in the individualized lessons for asymptotes and wholes. So this is everything that you're going to have to do with rational functions as far as these guys are concerned. So we'll see here that we need to find the domain of the rational function below, list the zeros in any vertical or horizontal asymptotes, wholes in the graph. So what I'd like for you to do maybe is pause it, graph it, find everything, and then watch the video and confirm that you are correct. I think that would be a great way to approach this video and the subsequent examples. I'll have a couple more that are set up like this. So this is what our graph looks like. We can see here that based on the graph, I don't have any horizontal asymptotes. Now be careful, wholes we're not so sure of because the calculator doesn't help us too much. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work out my domain. So in order to work out the domain, I take the denominator and I solve it. Well, x cannot equal 2/3 when I solve. So I'm going to go ahead and write my domain x where x cannot equal 2/3, and that would be the correct domain. Now I'm going to go ahead and look at the numerator and the denominator, and I'm going to find the vertical asymptote first. And actually, before I do that, let me actually clean this all up real quick. Wholes and vertical asymptotes are pretty close together. So we're going to do this. Do we have a whole or a vertical asymptote? So the question is can you factor the numerator? And the answer for this problem is no. So that means we are not going to get a common factor in both the bottom and the top, which means that there is no whole. There are not common factors. So I'm going to go ahead and find the vertical asymptote. And the vertical asymptote is the same as our domain restriction, but we don't include the not equal to sign. And then over here in the bottom left, I'm going to find the horizontal asymptote, and I look at the degrees. I have a degree of 2 over a degree of 1, so I have larger over smaller, or listen. And this tells me that there are no horizontal asymptotes. So we found our domain by taking the denominator and setting it not equal to 0, solving, that's our domain. Next step is I went to the whole or vertical asymptote. They're closely related. And I looked to factor what's in my polynomials in my numerator and denominator. Nothing factored, so I didn't have any common factors in the numerator and denominator. So I can establish that there's no whole in this graph, which means that the factor in the denominator creates the vertical asymptote. And I'm going to go ahead and draw that in right now with my dashed lines. This is something you'll have to do on your quizzes and tests. Then, lastly, I look at the polynomial and I look at the degrees. The degree of the numerator, degree of the denominator, larger over smaller. There is no horizontal asymptote.